Before we dive into tonight's story, make sure you're subscribed and have your notifications on. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Our story begins with a man named Daniel. Daniel was an ordinary guy, a software engineer from Chicago, who decided to take a solo road trip to clear his mind. He'd been working long hours and needed a break from the chaos of the city. So he packed his car, filled up the tank, and set off on a route that would take him through some of the most remote parts of the Midwest. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Daniel found himself on a narrow, winding road. The rain had started to fall, and the radio had long since lost its signal. He was completely alone, or so he thought. Through the rain and the darkness, Daniel spotted a figure on the side of the road. At first, he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him, but as he got closer, he realized it was a young woman, drenched and shivering, waving for him to stop. Now Daniel wasn't the type to pick up hitchhikers. He'd heard the warnings, the horror stories, but something about this woman felt different. She looked harmless, even vulnerable. Against his better judgment, he pulled over. The woman climbed into the passenger seat, her wet hair clinging to her face. She didn't say much, just gave him a faint smile and whispered, "Thank you." Daniel asked her name, but she only stared out the window, her expression unreadable. As they drove, Daniel tried to make small talk, but the woman remained eerily silent. She didn't answer his questions, didn't even look at him. Instead, she kept her gaze fixed on the road ahead, as if she were waiting for something. Then, without warning, she spoke. Her voice was soft, but firm. "Turn here," she said, pointing to a narrow, unmarked road that Daniel hadn't even noticed. He hesitated. This wasn't part of his route, but something about her tone made him obey. As he turned onto the road, the atmosphere in the car shifted. The air grew colder, and the rain seemed to fall harder. Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. The road led them to an old, abandoned gas station. The woman turned to Daniel and said, "This is my stop." Before he could respond, she stepped out of the car and walked into the darkness. Daniel sat there for a moment, stunned. He called out to her, but there was no reply. When he got out to look for her, she was gone. No footprints in the mud, no sign of her anywhere. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. Confused and shaken, Daniel got back into his car. That's when he noticed something on the passenger seat. A small, crumpled photograph. It was an old black and white picture of the same woman, standing in front of the gas station. But the date on the back read 1957. Daniel couldn't let it go. He spent weeks researching the gas station and the woman in the photograph. What he discovered sent chills down his spine. In 1957, a young woman named Clara had gone missing in the area. She was last seen hitchhiking on the same road where Daniel had picked up his mysterious passenger. Her body was never found, and the case was eventually closed. To this day, locals claim to see a young woman in a soaked dress, wandering the road, searching for a ride that will take her home. But beware, if you see her, don't stop, because once she gets in your car, you might never be the same. Daniel never drove that road again. He still keeps the photograph, a reminder of the night he encountered the vanishing hitchhiker. Was she a ghost, a lost soul, or something else entirely? We may never know. But one thing's for sure, if you're ever driving down a lonely road at night and you see a figure standing in the rain, think twice before you stop, because some passengers are better left behind. If this story sent chills down your spine, imagine what's coming next. Smash that subscribe button and tap the bell so you never miss a tale from the shadows. And if you're brave enough, leave a comment telling me what you'd do if you saw the vanishing hitchhiker.